Welcome to The Next Level, conversations that propel business. The next hour is all about the entrepreneur, why they start businesses, how they make their businesses grow, how they overcome failures and achieve success. Your host, Bob Gibbons, founder of Riata Commercial Realty, a commercial real estate advisory and tenant advocacy firm. Bob will ask probing questions to find impactful solutions that will help take your business to the next level. And now, here's Bob Gibbons.
Welcome to The Next Level, Conversations that Propel Business. This is your host, Bob Gibbons, and we're excited about another great show with some very interesting guests, and I'm excited to tell you that we have never done a show that has anything to do with health and fitness before, and today we're breaking that track record. And I'm excited about that, actually. So we've got with us today Scott Wilder and Kirk Wilder, and we have a few firsts here. So I've already said we have the first of its health and fitness that we're going to be talking about today, but it's also our first father-son interview team. We've had husbands and wives, and I've actually had my son as a guest, but I was the interviewer, he was the guest, but this is the first time we've had both guests being a father and son team. So that's exciting. Welcome, guys. We're looking forward to having you guys on the show.
Thank you. We're excited.
Thanks for having us.
So Kirk and Scott are the CEO, founder, president, CFO. They got a lot of titles between two guys of Utopia Food and Fitness. And Utopia Food and Fitness is a very interesting and unique model for fitness and food combined for optimal health for their clients. And they have several locations in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. They're growing fast. And so we will be talking a whole lot more about that here in just a minute. You can learn more about them at utopiaff.com. So that's utopiaff.com. All right, so guys, we always like to start off with what we call wisdom of others because we subscribe to the idea that there are a lot more wise people out there than us. And our quote today comes from somebody whose name I can't even pronounce properly. I think it's Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, but I wouldn't swear to that. And he said, "Perfection is achieved not when there is nothing more to add, but when there is nothing left to take away." Now, Kirk, you gave us this quote. What were you thinking?
Yes, I had always been a fitness advocate and kind of became a Pied Piper for a lot of my friends. And as time went on, a bunch of guys said, "Hey, we want to fund you to open up a fitness center." And so I got into the business and I started going to trade shows and I started looking at our industry, and it was emerging to some of these big box clubs now that have two of everything, waterfalls and running deer and water slides. And so my thinking is that the more you added, then the better it would be. And so I got into a small 2,000 square foot club, and I just started growing and adding. And before I knew it, I had whirlpools and eucalyptus rooms and running tracks and tennis courts and racquetball courts. But my goal was to help people, busy professionals, get and stay fit. And what I found out is that those they did not have merit. They ran up the price, and they didn't really help. So then I started scaling down, and now we've got it back down to 2,000 square feet. Our members come in 20 minutes twice a week. They get amazing results, and they feel very satisfied because they've come in and done what they need to do, and they've seen what they need to see.
So this quote seems to wrap up that philosophy nicely in that you're stripping away what doesn't need to be
the foo-foo.
There.
Yeah, the foo-foo. Get down to the essence.
Foo-foo stuff.
Yeah.
Interesting. So do you have any clue what this guy's context was for his statement?
I think he was either an architect or an aviator. And so I think most of his work was architectural. And so he was kind of after that pristine, clean look.
Sort of a minimalist kind of guy.
Yes, yeah.
Interesting.
But it just struck me that it really applied to what it was that I was trying to do, because I went through the whole gamut,
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're experimenting. So when you're trying to do something new, you got to experiment and see what works, what doesn't work. Stephen who's my co-host usually, he talks about a situation where he had a client once who had this great amenity they thought for their employees, which was this giant room with tons of snacks and food and drinks and pool table and foosball and, beanbag chairs and TV and video games and just on and on and on. And the thing consumed like maybe 5,000 square feet of this full floor on the top of some building in far north Dallas. And whenever he came in, he's in the insurance business, so he's always dealing with employee benefits. They did a survey of all the employees and said, what is the most important? And it made the employees force rank what was important to them of all the amenities, all the benefits that they offered. And what was disappointing to the owners of the company was that it turned out that amenities room, whatever you call it, playroom, actually ranked very low. It was like second to the lowest on the list. It actually was below company T-shirts, which I noticed you guys are both wearing.
Right.
And so
number one was coffee.
Actually, health benefits
Okay.
was number one, but more importantly, they wanted a greater contribution of the health benefits for their dependents on the plan. But in any case, what was my point in all this is that they had to strip away that, but they had to kind of create a mechanism so that they could force rank it, so they could figure out what was most important.
Yeah.
And they didn't take it away altogether, but they reduced it dramatically because it was extremely expensive.
Well, my journey, included all my members. I would ask them, what. We'd have to clean the cobwebs off the racquetball courts. So we really wanted to get the mindset and the psychology of our members, and they said, when I come in and I see something else over there, I feel it's kind of like Disney World. I feel like I have to go use it, and then I regret it because I get back to work late, and so it was driven predominantly by same thing.
Yeah,
letting the members vote.
Well, cool. Well, let's step back for a second. Let's go back in time. What was the first business or job that you created, Kirk? When you were young?
Yeah, well, the one that was the most fascinating to me was I just had always kind of been curious and had an entrepreneurial spirit, I suppose. I didn't know how to spell entrepreneur, but I kind of had the spirit. And when I was 13 years old, I ran a hamburger stand for a guy in Corpus Christi, Texas, called Giant Burger.
Well, wait a minute. I thought Whataburger started there.
They did.
You didn't work at Whataburger?
I don't think maybe they were around, but they only had one or two locations. So,
wow. Giant Burger.
Yeah, so I did that and had a paper route. That was
sure
kind of entrepreneurial, I guess.
But you, Scott?
I guess my first business that I started was actually encouraged by my entrepreneurial father, and I went around to our neighbors and had them pay me $15 to paint their address, the numbers,
yes.
1060 on their curb. And I remember my allowance at the time, I think, was $3 a week or something, and I made a couple $100, and I, maybe caught the entrepreneurial spirit.
Who needs dad, right?
Yeah.
To keep your $3.
Cool. I'm always shocked and amazed whenever I have friends that say they're not going to let their kids work because they don't want them distracted from their studies or something like that. And I've had friends that have done that all the way through college. I'm like, are you insane? Kids need work. They need that sense of accomplishment and satisfaction and seeing how effort turns into cash. And
Yeah, I think I ran a lemonade stand at one point, and he started telling me how my sign should be better and, the letters need to be bigger. And so I think he was always encouraging me to work for sure.
Well, I think it's cool, though, because, our kids both did that. In fact, we met some of our neighbors. Our best friends actually were clients of our kids first. And it's funny because when my son was 12 or 13 years old, he fired them as a client. He was mowing lawns for them, and he fired them as a client because he was trying to reduce the number, and they have a corner lot. So it was a whole lot of edging because they had tons of, the sidewalk. And it was so funny because he still loves to tell the story, my friend does, about how my son came to his front door and said, "Mr. Mortazavi, I'm no longer going to be able to serve you." He says, "I got fired by a 12-year-old. I cannot believe it." Oh, well, that's cool. And I noticed you also, Scott, worked at McDonald's.
Yeah, that was my first, I guess, paying job. I actually credit it a lot for how I think about business, customer service. I think McDonald's, I think they have an ad now, best first job or whatever.
Really?
It's like they have, advertisements, and maybe they're struggling to hire. I don't know, but I really credit it for a lot. I mean, just hard work and customers always right, except when they're not. But 99% of the time the customer's right, and and also it really influenced me. I worked for a franchisee who had 4 locations, and just watching how much he put into his own stores,
Right.
And just watching, what a real owner, how much pride he takes into a store. I remember I actually made manager after 1 year. I was really proud of it. And I was coming in one day, and he was scraping gum off of the drive-thru, which is not an easy job because cars drive over it and stuff. He was sweating. It's Texas heat. And, I said, why don't you get somebody to do that for you? And I'll never forget. He looked up in the air and said, I don't know. He didn't even think about it. He was an owner, and that's really influenced kind of how I think about things. That
He saw a need and he just went and did it.
Yeah, he's not an employee. He's my second job. I worked at Best Buy, and everybody there was an employee. I mean, they all still were great people and cared, but not like an entrepreneur, not like someone who's an owner who's just going to scrape the gum off of a parking lot because it was there, and he took pride.
Interesting. I used to sometimes whenever I hired people in a previous company, I would be very focused on when we walk through the property, and I'm in the commercial real estate business, so we would manage high-rise office buildings. If we were walking somewhere and I saw something on the ground, I would kind of hold back and wait to see what the other person would do, especially when it wasn't their, quote, job.
Right.
And if they didn't bend down and pick that up, that really told me something, because I could tell you that everybody above me on the food chain of that company would have immediately gone and grabbed it. It would have been almost like who could get there first. And so if somebody wasn't willing to do that, it was a real telling thing about whether or not they were a fit for that company.
I think that's great. I was just walking into one of our stores yesterday, and my business partner, COO Matt Zucker, saw a cup. It wasn't even in front of our store. It was in front of the store next to us, and he picked it up and threw it away. And I was like, yes, that's what we're looking for.
Absolutely, because even though it's not in front of your store, it still influences the look of the environment all around.
Exactly.
So that
We're
makes
all
a
one
big
team.
difference.
Nordstrom actually talks about how they call it the inverted pyramid, how the CEO is at the bottom. And that's important to us. We really view it like that, our members and our employees are first, right? So, our trainers who are front facing, and I work for them. And Kirk feels the same way. And, we kind of take that model that what can we do to help you? Because, they're the ones on the front line, and they, our business, getting fitness and weight loss is an emotional journey. And if we don't have employees who are engaged and really care, that's a problem. So we do work for them.
Sounds good. I agree. All right, we're going to take a break, and we will be back in just a moment.
Hi, my name is Fern, and I've been an empowered team member at Alkali for over 5 years. I first learned about Alkali through an online job board and was intrigued to learn that Alkali was a Dave Ramsey-endorsed local provider. But what captivated me was Alkali's mission statement, which is closely aligned with my own beliefs. So what's kept me at Alkali for over 5 years? First, Alkali's 5 core values match my own. Second, I've been empowered to use my unique abilities to impact our community, our clients, and Alkali. If you'd like to learn more about becoming an empowered Alkali team member, visit our website, alkaliservices.com. That's ALKALI services.com.
We are back. We're talking to Scott and Kirk with Utopia Food and Fitness. I got those in the right order, didn't I?
Yes.
Oh, good. All right. I fortunately have your beautiful T-shirt right there in front of me to make sure I'm on board. And you can learn more about them at utopiaff.com. So, Kirk, you alluded to something a while back that you were some of your employees or coworkers or whatever, you were kind of a Pied Piper or something. Tell us more about that.
So
it was kind of got you into the business, didn't it?
I'd always been a fitness advocate. In fact, one of my favorite remembrances is that when I was 13, I built a gym in the family garage. My dad couldn't get his car in the garage anymore, and that upset him for about 3 months, but he got over it. So I'd always been a fitness advocate, and so I graduated from college, went to work for Arthur Andersen as a CPA in downtown Dallas.
Okay.
So, it's just a bunch of accountants, bankers, and attorneys. That was the gang. And people would come up to me and say, well, why don't you look like us? I mean, you do what we do and you eat what we eat and you don't look like us. And so I would say, okay, let's review. We all live in Plano. We all work downtown. We all get up at 6 a.m. Our lives are the same. But I throw on a pair of sweats, beat traffic downtown, and work out at the Y while you sit home, drink coffee, and then get caught in traffic. And then I eat where you eat, not what you eat. And so, these guys are, highly motivated, driven, and they're like, well, can you help me? Can I go to the Y with you? and I just got to where more and more of these guys, it was predominantly guys at that time, just became more and more interested. And about 7 years out, about 15 guys came to me and said, "Hey, we're all making good money. Here's money. Open up a fitness center so we have a place to work out."
What? All of these guys had they all been working out with you at that point?
Just, collaboration, and, I'd set them up on programs, and then they would.
But you weren't charging them for it.
Oh, no, just out of love, just out of passion and love. And so they just said, "My God, I don't know what it is about you, but you have a way of empowering me, And I was like, well, maybe that's a talent that I have. Maybe that's a gift that I have. And I started thinking about it, and, we all kind of assess our assets, and the one thing I've learned about myself is that I can convince somebody to do something they don't want to do for their own good. It's
that's a huge talent.
Yeah, it's just empowering people, to be a better them, And so,
so were these guys going to be? Were they offering you this money to just say, "Hey, take it and run and go do this, open this thing up," or were they wanting to be investors?
They were
in it?
investors.
Okay. Yeah. And so they were basically telling you to quit your job and go.
Yeah. At that time, I was president of a fairly large real estate management company, so it was quite a decision.
So you'd quit being the CPA and moved on to real estate by this time.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. And so it was a big decision to leave a very lucrative position, but I kind of had that empty heart, and I wanted to serve people, and I just loved talking to people about it and seeing their progress that they made, and so I opened up a 2,000 square foot fitness center in the tunnel system underneath Thanksgiving Square.
Yeah,
1980.
1980, and so what went into this decision? I mean, you're a president of a real estate company, and now you're going to go open a 2,000 square foot single location fitness center. That doesn't exactly sound like the obvious career path. What did your wife say?
Oh, she freaked out because she didn't work.
When I was 2 years old.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. So you got a stay-at-home wife, you have kids at home, and you walk away from
in a brand new house.
In a brand new house.
Yeah.
This sounds like a really brilliant idea there, Kirk.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because a lot of my associates would be like, "God, I wish I had that courage, but it was a passion, and you know how we have mentors in life. I had a mentor in the fitness industry out of Atlanta, and I said, "What's it like?" Because he had done the same thing. He said, "I'll tell you, I love word pictures." He said, "I'll tell you exactly what it's like." He said, "You make a decision and you get in a rubber raft and you hear the rapids, and then you see the rapids, and then you're in the rapids." Mm-hmm. And about 5 months into it, I was like, what was I thinking? I was laying down on the floor in the center to get an extra hour's sleep, so I didn't have to go home and come back to work and open up at 5:30 that morning.
So were you the only employee of the fitness
I had
center?
3 other employees, but I mean, I opened and I did the laundry and I scrubbed the showers and
got the gum up off the concrete.
Yeah, that's right. And so I was in the rapids.
So what was the business model at that point? Was it just your typical, hey, I pay X amount of dollars per month for a gym membership?
It was monthly, no contract, and they came in. It was 2,000 square foot, but we had 6 showers, and these, it was a male-only fitness center at that time. Women weren't into strength training, and they would just march in, 4 and 5 abreast, and we would shoot them down 2 lines of medical-grade Nautilus equipment, and they would work out, go take a shower, and they'd be desk to desk in less than an hour, and they loved it, and they were getting great results. And that model we still do that today.
But at that time, it was 2,000 square feet. Could you put enough bodies through that for it to be something you could make a living at?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. We had, the dues were $19 a month. It was pretty cheap back then.
No
but
kidding.
We had 300, we constantly had 300 members. And so we had cheap rent. City of Dallas was our landlord. And cheap utilities were underground, just like Carlsbad Caverns, 70 degrees year round. And free water. And so
low expenses saved you, basically. Mm-hmm. So how long did that, what was the place called?
Downtowner Fitness Center.
Downtowner Fitness Center. That sounds familiar. I started working in downtown Dallas in 1984, so I may have happened by it a time or two, and I'm just not remembering it. But so how long did that continue, or did you open up new locations?
So I'm laying there on the floor 5 months into it saying I built myself a prison, right?
Yeah.
And I can't get out of because I have mortgage payments. And but I just, kept pushing. And within 2 years, I had 4 locations. And so
Now, 4 locations in 2 years, that requires a lot of capital. How did you do that?
that was when real estate was focused on amenities. And so the landlord would build it out for free.
So you're doing this in office buildings?
Exactly.
Okay. That makes sense.
No rent, and they paid for all the capital expenditures. So
That's a beautiful model. Yeah, I mean, I used to manage high-rise office buildings, and we had fitness centers in those buildings. And today, they're even getting bigger than they used to be in the past.
yeah,
Because landlords are constantly looking for the next new amenity, something that's going to make their building look more attractive to a tenant and give them the edge. So that's brilliant. You were doing that way back in the 80s,
yeah,
early 80s, in fact.
yeah. And we had 4 locations. We were getting ready to open 4 more, and that's when, as you may recall, the market tanked.
About 1986, I'm guessing.
Exactly. And so instead of opening 4 more, we closed 3. And I
Oh.
became the manager of the 4th. And by that time, I'd figured out how to combine exercise and nutrition. And I developed a new company, and we started licensing our program to all the clubs in Dallas. And we were in every major club in Dallas, bar none. I mean, Las Colinas Sports Club, Premier Club, Signature Club, Landmark Club. I mean, you name a high-end club, we were in there.
And what was the service you were offering them?
Called Biometrics One-on-One. And so it was a 6-week program of exercise, and then I had a software program that would custom print recipes, the kind of food that you liked.
Okay.
And and then next thing I knew, we're in 32 states, so.
Wow. I mean, that's pretty incredible. So, I mean, that's a major change in the kind of business. I mean, your customer is no longer, the individual you're trying to sell a membership to. Your customer is now the other clubs
Right.
that are trying to then resell this to their members.
Right.
So, was it a revenue share thing? Did you provide them with employees?
No, I would, they would, it was from all over the country. They would fly into Dallas, and we would certify a fitness director. And then that fitness director would then train trainers at that club. And needless to say, I lived with a headset on, because we're getting calls from all over the U.S., Sally's not getting results and blah, 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 and what's going on. And
It's because Sally's got a closet that has some things she shouldn't have.
that's right.
Yeah, it's like I have a friend who was vegan, and yet she was overweight. And I was like, I don't know. How do you stay overweight as a vegan? That seems a little odd to me, but
Soft drinks, maybe.
something. I didn't get it, but
Yeah. No, you can get overweight on anything,
just too much of it. But all right, so this business is blowing up to 32 states, and this was what years? Like late 80s?
Yes, late 80s into the early 90s. And I got a call from a guy in Atlanta named Rich Boggs, who had developed the step for the step aerobics, that little plastic step.
Sure.
Made millions on that thing. And he said, "Hey, I'm in 20,000 clubs. You're not. Sell me your program." And I was like, "Make me an offer." He said, $500,000 cash. And I said, "Write the check."
Really?
And the reason I did that is that clubs were not doing it to my satisfaction. It was just one of
Quality control.
exactly. And so I opened up a fitness center on Preston at Frankfurt called 40 Studio. And I did that for a while. And, you listen to your customer. And the members kept saying, "I don't need a personal trainer. I can count to 12 because there's, it's circuit equipment. And so it's not like handing somebody kettlebells,
Yeah.
And they said, "And I'm not going to go to the grocery store and read food labels. Just sell me the food." And so I started talking to Scott about how do we do that, and it piqued his interest. He goes, "Oh my God, this we can literally change the face of a market. This will be a
Amazing.
disruptive business model." And so Scott started working on the food side, which was extremely complicated.
I bet.
And so that would just evolved into Utopia Food and Fitness, to where we now offer gourmet fresh food and continue to do that 20-minute circuit twice a week.
Interesting. So you're marrying up the fitness circuit and the old-time gym, so to speak, with the food. And there's a lot of people that are doing the food. I mean, there's Weight Watchers and there's a million others. But you're doing both of those in concert. Because, and I'll just say from my own experience, I've worked out forever. I know you probably can't tell that, but there's
fit.
a lot of people that I see in the club that are a little overweight, not obese, not, too much, but a little bit. And then once in a while, you'll see one of those people, rarely, but occasionally, all of a sudden walk in and they've just dropped a bunch of weight. And every single time I've said, wait a minute, what changed? What happened to you? And every single time it was food. Mm-hmm. It wasn't that they changed their workout routine. It all related to the food. So let's take another break. We'll pick that up on the other side. Welcome back to The Next Level. We're talking to Scott and Kirk with Utopia Food and Fitness. You can find them online at utopiaff.com. So we were just starting to talk about Utopia. We've been talking a lot about the background and what led you to this point. So on Utopia now, you're taking fitness and food, and there's a lot of people that have been doing each of those. And there's some people that claim that they're kind of combining them, but are they really? So, Scott, you got the call from your dad saying, hey, I've got this great idea. Why don't you come work with me? What were you doing when you got that call?
Yeah, I think it was actually Christmas time, if I remember correctly. And so I have a computer science undergrad. I worked in programming for a while, went to go get an MBA. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. If I'm truthful, I really was running away from programming and thought an MBA can't hurt. And still couldn't decide what I wanted to do with my life, if I'm, again, honest, coming out of MBA. So I went into consulting, and consulting is a way to delay real career decisions. And
while working your butt off
yes,
doing it.
Yes.
Having no personal life.
Yeah.
So I was in that for 6 years, 100% travel, actually. A lot of people leave consulting because they hate the job. I actually didn't mind it. I actually really enjoyed it, a lot of it. There were some tough parts for sure. But I wasn't running away for something for the first time. It was really the idea of Utopia I was running to. And when my father said, what if we just sold him the food? I knew his previous concepts where he was getting amazing results, but with recipes. I just couldn't get the idea out of my head. I personally don't like to cook. Even people who like to cook nowadays don't have time to do it, a lot of them. And so it just seemed kind of on trend, if you will. Like it's a product that's needed. Having then quit my consulting job and joining, and I was listening to you talking about how people drop that last 10 pounds, which is something we specialize in, and how it's nutrition. The number one thing that surprises me in this business is how hard it is to actually put them together. Because, if you're overeating and under-exercising, everybody knows I'm eating too much, I'm going to get fat or whatever. The opposite is less obvious, but also a problem. We get a lot of people who are over-exercising and under-eating, which with a math mind, I think, it's a simple equation that, if I'm eating less, that should be fine, right? So to get that balance right is actually a lot harder than people think. And that's what Kirk and literally decades of research has figured out, is how do we balance these to get the most efficient results, there's a lot of different ways to get fit. People do P90X and have results, and, there's a lot of what I call inefficient ways to do it. And one phrase Kirk used early on that I like is, it's like if you want to get to Boston, there's a lot of ways to get to Boston. You can fly, you can drive, you can walk. With us, you fly. It's the most efficient way to get there.
Interesting. So you get the call from Dad saying, I got this idea, I want you to come work. Was he already down that path a ways before you got there, or?
No, he had just left 40 Studio. I think it was Christmas, and we were like sitting on a couch and talking about it, and we couldn't get the idea out of our head, and both of us. And so he said, if we're going to do this, you're going to raise the money. So during my 70-hour-a-week job, it actually took about a year and a half to raise the money. And I remember we got our last $100,000 from an investor. And my grandfather, his dad, actually had this quote. It's like when the bulldog catches the car, something you think you want, but when you get it, it's like, whoa, what do I do with this?
And that would be investor money, I imagine.
Yeah, and so that's how I felt. It's like, I guess I got to quit my job now and go do this thing. So I quit my job, and then 2 days later, the last investor we got pulled out. And at that point, I was like, all right, and then we replaced the money and found new investors for the $100,000, and off we were.
So now, when you were raising this money, were you raising this on an idea, or did you already have a prototype location open?
No, it was an idea. It was Scott and a PowerPoint. I had this one investor who was laughing at me. He said, because he actually invested in the second round. He said, the first time you came to me, it was just Scott and a PowerPoint. And so now
and
you
that
have
wasn't enough.
Yeah, now you have a location. I'm feeling more comfortable. So it was friends and family, really, in the beginning. The one big investor was more institutional. The one that, so really, I owe it to our friends and family. I remember my Wharton friend Richards, who was our first investor, and just I always say if you have the money and you have a friend with an idea and you think it's good, invest in them, because I'll never forget the people who invested in me, right? I mean, and really the idea, but it was really in us. It was really the people.
Sure.
And, he had at the time, at the time it was 33 years of experience in this industry. And so we had the credibility. But
did you have a fitness center open at that point?
No.
So you had no fitness center open. You had no food production going. So you're now raising money to create that combination.
Yes.
So how do you once you got the money, once you were able to get the friends and family to do this, what was the first step? Did you just go find a spot and go lease 2,000 square feet?
Yes.
Yeah, it was a combination of we really knew what to do on the fitness side, so it was ordering the equipment. But on the food, and finding a location and then figuring out how to do the food. Kirk has a lot of deep relationships in the research world. One of the other founders, her name's Carol Ireton Jones. She is a dietitian. She has a PhD in nutrition. She's actually world class, like world famous. She actually has a metabolic formula named after her that nutrition students learn. She's amazing.
Used worldwide.
Yeah, used worldwide. So she's involved. So she's figuring out how do we do the food, right? Like what ingredient, what a dietitian does, but it's got to be delicious. If it's not delicious, if it's not chef driven, we're out of business, right? So actually I had a friend who owned 3 restaurants, and so I said, can I interview all your chefs? And then one of the chefs, his name's Chef Mike Smith, ended up getting a real interest in it and helped me find somebody and did some consulting work for us on how do we actually get this thing going.
Interesting. So at the same time you're opening a gym, you're also getting the food, but are you going to be producing the food yourself, or
Yes.
you're not outsourcing that?
Correct. Because you got to use the right ingredients. We got to get exactly 300 calories.
But that means you have to set up a commercial kitchen.
Which
You're
we did.
not doing that in the 2,000 foot.
We did. Well, you're right. The first location was 4,200 square feet because it was half kitchen, half gym.
Okay.
And that kitchen is actually still today producing enough food for 4 locations right now. We're about to open our 5th. It's maxed out. We're moving the kitchen literally in about a week and a half here to a central commissary because we're just out of space in that 4,200 square feet. So we're moving the kitchen and the fitness part of it to a different location in Plano. But we've had that for, I guess, 5.5 years now, that kitchen running in Plano.
Interesting. So you have 4 locations open.
Yes.
And where are all those located?
1 in Plano, 2 in Dallas. One of them's kind of northern, quote unquote, Dallas. It's
Preston at Forest.
Preston and Forest.
Okay. Great location.
1 in Park Cities, and then 1 in South Lake. And then the 5th that's opening in October will be in Lakewood.
Okay. So little upscale locations. I assume that's necessary because you're not exactly the cheapest option on the block, given what you're offering.
I'd actually, we're actually purposely pricing low right now because we're still trying to get our name out. So our food runs about $33 a day. That's for 3 meals and 2 snacks. And if you look at our ingredients, grass-fed beef, free-range chicken, organic, we're really low price compared to.
I can get 3 full meals and 2 snacks for $33.
Yes.
Oh my!
Of chef-prepared food for you, and it's healthy.
And do I go pick it up at your place when I work out, or you're not delivering it to my house, are you?
Correct. It's because you have to work out anyway because we're food and fitness, so you happen to be there working out anyway.
So I'm picking it up for several days at a time.
Exactly.
3 days one time, 4 days the next.
Okay.
And one of the things that I laugh about is somebody says, I really didn't want to come work out, but I got to eat.
That's motivation.
Yeah.
It's self-reinforcing.
It's kind of like God with a manna.
Yeah, right.
You guys are the God?
Yeah.
That's
Baby
hilarious.
manna, yeah.
Actually, I mean, I like that idea because, I just went and visited my daughter in Washington, D.C. Weekend before last, and she's signed up for one of these food delivery services where they ship it to you and, dry ice, et cetera. And the one she's getting is a vegan one, and she loves it. I mean, she really thought it was all really, really good. I've heard some real iffy stories on some of those, to be unnamed. services.
Right.
So you have to be really careful. But the fact that I can go pick it up from you, I would have a lot more confidence in that it's fresh, who made it, who's responsible. I mean, when it comes from some unknown whatever in the sky and it lands on my front doorstep, that is a little more concerning to me.
Yeah, it's always made the night before, and we have the chef. He does events, and people love meeting him. And the chef's always the most interesting person in the company. Like I walk in, and hey, chef walks in. Oh my gosh, hey, it's the chef. Because who doesn't like delicious food?
My favorite story about Mike Smith, the chef, is that he was a consultant, and he said, "I want to go through the program." He lost 70 pounds, got off all his meds for type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol.
I saw that testimonial on your website. I didn't realize it was for the actual chef.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And so he said, I'm going to sell my portion of the restaurant. He'd been a restaurateur in Dallas for quite some time. And he said, I've been killing people for 30 years, and I'm going to help them.
Redemption.
Right. And so 3 weeks into it, he's ready to quit. And I said, what's wrong? He said, Carol, the dietitian, took away my duck fat, my butter, my sour cream. What am I going to do? How am I going to make things taste good? And so he said it's the hardest job he's ever done in his life. And he is a James Beard nominated chef. So he said it was really a challenge.
Now, how do you handle the situation where I'm a vegetarian, somebody else is vegan, somebody
No
else
problem.
is gluten-free, somebody else is
We do
whatever,
it all.
paleo?
Scott can talk about that. Yeah.
Really? So you customize for all those varieties of tastes?
We do. It goes beyond that. People will say, there's the main categories you talk about, and we have a checkbox in someone's profile if they're gluten-free, for example. But, we found really early it goes beyond just these big categories. I mean, someone will say, I don't like beef, or I don't like cilantro, right, a specific spice. And so our software allows you to completely customize it. And what happens is, so let's say you're coming in, and let's say you don't like turkey or whatever it is. The system, it's actually the chef's choosing items, and then they apply it to your profile. You get an email that says, here's everything the chef has chosen. There's a link. You can edit it. So let's say you want to try the turkey. You can still add one, and then when you show up, exactly what you ordered is there. So it's very convenient. It's, you get the email, you click on it, you get exactly what you want. It's made fresh for you based off of your profile.
That's hard to imagine. You can do that for that many members and make it fresh and, most importantly, still be profitable. But we'll have to save that discussion for after the next break. We'll be right back.
Hi, this is Bob Gibbons with Riata Commercial Realty. If your office lease is going to be expiring in the next year or two, the one thing I would tell you definitely do not want to do is exercise a renewal option. Now, that may sound a little nuts. When you negotiate for that renewal option, why wouldn't you actually want to use it? Well, the reason is because while you want to have one as a reservation for your space so the landlord can't lease the space out from under you, that option may not actually work the way you want it to now. It may have made sense 5 years ago, but it doesn't today. The only thing that changes when you exercise a renewal option are the expiration date and the rent. But you may want to do other things like have another option to renew, have an option to terminate or expand. You may want to be able to expand now or have a new base year for your operating expenses. There's all kinds of things that need to be considered. So we recommend that you renegotiate, not renew. For more information, contact me, Bob Gibbons, at texastenancrep.com. That's texastenancrep.com.
All right, we are back with Utopia Food and Fitness. And so, Scott, before the break, I kind of teed you up a little bit to how are you doing all this customization for food and remaining profitable?
So as far as the kitchen goes, they know exactly what they need to make for the day, and so we're able to plan it out. Our software actually, I remember we were probably in year one, and I saw one of the kitchen employees throwing shrimp in the garbage can. Like, what are you doing? They said, well, we made too many or whatever. And so me with my computer science background, I'm thinking, no, we know exactly how many shrimp we need to cook for the day. And so, they were, for a while, I had a nickname. I was the shrimp, a bad word after that. But, and
Nazi.
Nazi,
and,
you can say that.
Okay, yeah, I don't know. And other variations of that I can't say. So, because I was so obsessed with shrimp is expensive. And so now the software says you need to cook 142 shrimp for the day because we know exactly what. And so at the time I was saying 142, which actually was a bad decision because if a couple are bad, they need to recook 3 shrimp or whatever. So I'm like, okay, you can make 145 instead of 142. But
Oh, he is.
And then
he's a little anal on this,
Right.
isn't he?
and then when you come pick up your food, you've ordered it, so you're taking it home. And so 80% of our food is pre-sold. No, but I mean, if you think about, I don't know, choose the healthy, Snap Kitchen or whatever, they're making, I have all the respect for them in the world, but their business model is make it and hope they sell it.
Yes.
We've already sold it. And so that allows us to keep our costs really low. And that's why we're underpricing our competition on the food, the $33 a day right now, because we have so little waste. I mean, the chef says in 35 years of his career, he's never seen this little food waste.
So let's say I come and I want to be a member,
Right.
but I don't want your food.
Right.
Can I do that?
So we do have a couple, like if a wife says, hey, my husband wants to come in, what we ask you is, what are your goals? If your goals, so most people, even men who want to build muscle, most women, it's just, I want to look lean and lose fat. Even men, most of them lose fat. We ask you, can we meet your goals? If we can meet your goal, if it's, I just want to get stronger, absolutely, you can join our gym. If it's, I want to lose this 50 pounds and I don't want the food, we're going to tell you we can't meet your goals. We're not in the business just to take your money. If we can't meet your goals, we'll actually turn people away, and we've done it.
I mean, you're a gym that doesn't want as many members as possible, betting on the fact that half of them aren't going to show up?
Yeah, I mean, exactly. We actually want people to show up because then, they're buying the food and their
attendance is high, yeah.
And, 80% of our sales are referrals. So somebody gets great results and their friends come. So I remember we were in about year one, and we had a member who wanted to lose weight, wasn't eating our food. She just happened to not like it. I think, she was Indian and just happened to not like our food.
Yeah.
And she wasn't getting results. She never ate a single one of our meals. And she asked me, she said, my friends are asking about this program, and they're asking me, if it's not working for you, could it work for them? And this light bulb went off in my head. We can't do that. I wanted to say, you're not actually doing our program. We're food and fitness. You're just doing the fitness, right? But like I said, if somebody comes in and they just want to get stronger, we can accomplish that without the food. And so it's really about people's goals. If we can't meet someone's goals, we're not going to sign them up.
Yeah. So you're not for everybody.
Right.
But you're very targeted. And if somebody really wants results, they don't want to just pay lip service, then this is a good place to do it.
Right.
So I heard that there was a bit of an issue that came along with some of the claims you guys were making about building muscle and low-fat food and building metabolism and all this kind of thing, and that kind of somebody challenged you on that. Tell us about that, Kirk.
Yeah, so we, our dietitian, I actually met her. We don't have time to talk about it, but all the Dallas Cowboy coaches went through the program in 1990, and they won the Super Bowl the next year, and I take full credit for that. And we actually, UT Southwestern Medical wanted to do some testing on them because of the notoriety. And so I developed a relationship with UT Southwestern Medical. I've kept it up. And Carol Arton-Jones actually came on board with us from there. And she's continued to collaborate with them. And she was telling them that this program's amazing. You can lose fat, gain muscle, and increase your metabolism all at the same time. And they said, not possible. I mean, we all know that when you go on a diet, your metabolism drops, And we all know when you go on a diet, you lose muscle. And so they actually tested our program, did a research study. And Scott's really kind of kept up with the results more than me. And he can talk about, even Scott was astonished at the results that we got.
Yeah, I mean, normally when people lose weight, their metabolism goes down because they're a smaller person. That's just how the body works. When we restore lean muscle and we really restore we get a lot of people who are what we call yo-yo dieters. So they lose 15 pounds. Along with that, their body actually burned 3 to 4, up to 7 pounds of muscle. That's that 15 pounds. They gain it all back. It's all fat. So their metabolism's continuing to go down. We reverse that process. So we restore their lean muscle to their natural level. And normally when people lose the amount of weight that they do with us in 6 weeks, their metabolism goes down by 5 to 10%. And we showed in the study that on average it went up by 5%. And I mean, this is groundbreaking. If you think about, there's a lot of, I was just listening to another program from a woman who wrote a book called Why Diets Make You Fat. And I mean, all the science shows when you diet, you lower your metabolism. So the fact that we actually, not only just, we don't even keep it steady, but we showed on average we increase the metabolism while they're losing weight. This is just unheard of.
Interesting. So UT did the testing. They then became a fan, and this woman came and She works with you guys, or she's just like on?
Well,
on
that's
the-
Carol, our dietitian.
Your dietitian,
Yeah,
okay.
and she had been with. I mean, she saw before the kind of results that we were getting, even back with the Cowboys. And I think Jimmy Johnson increased his metabolism like 23. I mean, it was something crazy, because he had a lot of muscle memory that he was able to get that college football muscle back, And
Wow.
he still holds the record. He lost 7 inches in his waist in 6 weeks. He still holds the 34-year record for that.
That's amazing.
And I mean, they were, these are very competitive men. Dave Wanstad holds the record. He lost 51% of his body fat in 6 weeks.
6 weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like
Crazy stuff.
that Biggest Loser show
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
In
going
20
on.
minutes twice a week.
And I'm glad you said that, Scott, because 20 minutes, come on. That just seems
Yeah.
Too good to
little.
be true.
Well, see, we had a woman, and I think she said it better than anybody. She came in. She was working out 2 hours a day, 6 days a week, not getting results. And she came to us and got these miraculous results, 20 minutes twice a week. And she said, 2 things. Number one, I got my time back. Number 2, I felt like if I weren't on a dirty parking lot at 5 a.m. punishing myself, it couldn't work.
Yeah, really. I've got to be hurting. I've got to be miserable.
Yeah. And so Wayne Westcott, who's a world-class researcher on our equipment, he did research, and he showed that a 20-minute circuit on Nautilus medical grade equipment equals 50 minutes of strength training and 30 minutes of cardio
Combined?
combined.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, and the research is there. I mean, it's proven research.
I guess I'll have to read that research because I that just seems totally
Mind-boggling.
ridiculous to me.
Yeah.
But I'm no expert on this, of course.
Yeah,
Just
and where it comes from, free weights are not efficient, and you're there's a lot of times where you're not working the right parts of the muscle, and then
You're not working that muscle to full range of motion.
And the cardio part comes from we do circuits, so it's like running up a hill and down a hill. So circuits are magical for
interval
cardio.
interval
training.
Okay.
Thank you, yeah.
Yeah.
And then the popular word now is HIIT, high intensity training.
Yep.
So, we do, it's not a fun 20 minutes, but you're in and out.
Well, but it's only 20 minutes. I've done the high intensity stuff for like a class for an hour, and oh my gosh, that at the end of that, I was just so wiped out. I was useless for most of the rest of the
You're right.
day.
Yeah.
And also, I found that some of the things I was doing, there was a lot of up and downs and burpees and this kind of stuff, and my wrists
Oh, no.
were
Yeah, we
really
used-
sore.
Yeah. Ours is all low or no impact.
So, what is sort of the big thing right now? I mean, you guys are obviously on a growth pattern. What's the plan for the future? I mean, are you guys planning to franchise this? Are you planning to go to a lot of other cities, blow this up nationally, worldwide? What?
So the vision of the company is national. I don't know about worldwide just because I don't know diet patterns, and the reality is, there are countries without the obesity issues that America has. I know we want to be nationwide within America. Maybe Hawaii. I want to go start that. Fitness
That's still
facility
America,
right now.
by the way.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I want to go there right now.
Okay.
But anyway, so yeah, we want to do. We want to change how the entire U.S. thinks about weight loss. When people think about weight loss, they think about the parking lot, or I need to be on the treadmill and I need to eat twigs and dust, and they, to work out 20 minutes twice a week and eat gourmet food. And it's so easy with us. Like, that's the vision of the company, to literally change how people think about weight loss. And so to do that, we need to continue to expand. Our 4th location is actually owned by a franchisee. It's actually an owner-operator model, not to get technical in the legal terms, but you can think of them like a franchisee, and we want to continue to do that. The reality about our business, again, I mentioned this, weight loss is an emotional journey. Getting fit is an emotional journey, and so we have to have people who care. And so it comes back to that story of that guy scraping gum out. We need people who run the locations who, when somebody says, oh, I'm really struggling with whatever it is they're struggling with, my wine, or I can't give up Dr. Pepper, or whatever it is, they need to care. You just can't say, well, here's your, workout card. So to get people who care, we love that model of, getting more owners essentially involved. And our Park Cities location is actually doing the best that yet. And I attribute a lot of that to the person running it, the person who owns it.
I don't know that we have time for this because we only have a little more than a minute, but I mean, you're not doing a true franchise model. Is there a particular reason why? Is it?
So when we have a guy on our board, and I know we're running out of time, who studied this for his life. This guy I knew at Boston Consulting Group, And we're actually following kind of the Chick-fil-A model where you have an owner-operator. And so we actually co-invest with them, and that aligns our interests. With pure franchisees, you start to get you start to kind of separate on. So like we try to just make a bunch of money off of our food or something like that. But we want our interests purely aligned, and we find the owner-operator model does that.
Okay, I like that. Well, guys, we really appreciate you being our guest on the show today. For our listeners, please go to Utopia FF to learn more. They have several programs you can look at there and sign up for and check it out. So if you want to learn more about the show, please go to nextlevelshow.com, or we're also on podcast. You can find us by searching The Next Level Show. And same thing on YouTube. We'll be back next week with another great guest. And if you see something you like, please give us the notes, shoot us an email, leave notes on the YouTube or wherever. And thanks a lot. Talk to you later.